The Oregon State Beavers have been a surprise to many in the college football world as of late, but this has been a team that has steadily improved to get to where they are today, and that is, to many, including myself, a sleeper team here in the Pac-12 Conference. This is going to be a team that's going to give a lot of people fits, and I think it's going to be a very solid team in the depth that is the Pac-12. So, can Oregon State maybe go ahead and win the conference, get to a New Year's Six bowl game, or will Sleeping Beauty be put to rest by the rest of the competition in the Pac-12? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 college football FBS level teams this summer, and that means I'm doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. And you can help me support my channel in more ways than just that. You can, or I should say you're doing one right now by watching the video, and you can do more by liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, really anything else you can think of to help support my channel would mean a lot to me. Now let's talk about the Oregon State Beavers. In my opinion, one of the more interesting teams as we are heading into the 2023 college football season. Hey, here's how preview predictions work on this channel. We're going to go through a roster overview, take a look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look, diving in to the 2023 Beavers football schedule and giving it just a good old-fashioned game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, I give you your Oregon State Beavers in 2023. Now, before we start going position by position, I do have to mention one name. He's in the linebacker spot a ways down on your screen, and that is Jack Coletto. Man did everything for this Oregon State team. Defensively last year, had 27 tackles. He caught 3 passes last season, but as a fullback, had 27 carries, 103 yards, and 6 touchdowns on the year. He played football. When you ask him what position he played, he just played football. Jack Coletto, very good player, and Oregon State will be missing him in 2023. Now, let's go position by position. In the quarterback room, well, this has been a position that's needed upgrade at Oregon State for a long time. You lose Chance Nolan, was your second leading passer last year, my apologies, and Treston Jebbia is off to play for Ohio State. However, when you take a look at what's coming back, your leading passer does return in Ben Goldbranson at 1,455 yards on 62% completion percentage, only 9 touchdowns to 5 interceptions last season for him. However, a much-needed piece comes over to this team in the transfer portal. Former Clemson quarterback DJ Uiagalelei. They have passed the torch on to Cade Klubnik. Uiagalelei comes over to play for Jonathan Smith's club, and my oh my, we know what Uiagalelei can be at his peak. He's been on cruise control for the past couple years, but if he can rewind back to that COVID year when he made a couple starts for Trevor Lawrence and was outstanding, Oregon State has got themselves a really nice piece in the former 5-star, according to 24/7 Sports. Now, in the running back room, I think DJ has a lot to work with back here because you have a stud in Damian Martinez, who was phenomenal for this team last year. Close to being a 1,000-yard rusher at 982 yards on 161 carries. Tied for the team lead with 7 touchdowns. Who is he tied with? Your second leading rusher last year, Deshaun Fenwick. 114 carries for 553 yards and 7 touchdowns last season. As well as Jam Griffin, who was that third leading rusher, 488 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's a very solid, might I even add, very, very good 3-headed monster back there in the running back room. Of course, led by Damian Martinez, Deshaun Fenwick, very good player himself, and then Jam Griffin back there as well. Wide receiver room, here's where you lose a little bit of talent that could have helped DJ out a lot, as your first and third leading receivers, respectively, are gone. Trayshawn Harrison led the team with 52 catches, 604 yards, and tied for the team lead with 4 touchdowns. And then Tyjon Lindsey, 317 yards in the touchdown, was that third leading receiver. However, you return Anthony Gold, who was your second leading receiver with 457 yards and 3 touchdowns. Silas Bolden had 4 touchdowns last year. That, of course, was tied for the team lead. And then John Dunmore, a lot of other names in this wide receiver room I could have put on this list, as well as some freshmen. Zachary Card comes into the program. He, to my knowledge, on ourlads.com, which is the site I use for depth charts and everything, was farthest up on the depth chart. However, we do have some higher-rated wide receiver recruits coming in Montrell Hatton and Tastian Reddick. All of them 3 stars. All of them could be very good pieces for the Beavers on the wide receiver end. Tight end room, you do lose Luke Musgrave, but return Jack Velling and Jake Overman to help be your tight ends. And on the offensive line, Brandon Kipper is going to be gone. That's kind of the only loss I could find. And while you return Joshua Gray, Talisi Fuaga, Henley Bloomfield, and Jake Levengood, apologies for mispronunciations across the board. Moving over to the defensive side of things, what can we expect from the Oregon State Beavers? Well, on the defensive line, Simon Sandberg, I found, is gone. 17 tackles last year, pretty solid piece. Who do you return? Sion Lolohe, who had 33 tackles and 2 sacks for the Beavers last season. You also are going to return Isaac Hodgins and James Rawls, as well as getting a community college transfer, number 1 at his position, 16th overall community college player according to 24/7, in Nico Taylor. Should be a really good part to that defensive line. Linebacker-wise, you do lose your leading tackler in Omar Spates, who had 83 tackles last year. I already mentioned Jack Coletto, and then Kyrie Fisher-Morris, who was your 3rd leading tackler, is gone from last year as well. So 77 tackles for him last year with a sack and a half and an interception. He is gone. However, you return Easton Mascarenas Arnold, Andrew Chatfield, and John McCartan as well. Mascarenas Arnold, 2 sacks last year. McCartan had 34 tackles and a sack last year. There's some very good players in this linebacker room. Some very solid pieces in the linebacker room for Oregon State this year, as well as getting some transfers coming over. Mason Tufuga's coming over from Utah, and then Calvin Hart is coming over from the Illini of Illinois. In the defensive back room, Jaden Grant is going to be gone for this team. Had 6 passes defended and tied for the team lead with 3 interceptions last season. He was tied for the team lead with a player to be named later. I'm looking at the wrong stat. Alex Austin was tied for the team lead last year with 10 passes defended, also had 2 interceptions. He is gone, as well as Rajon Wright, who had 2 interceptions, 9 passes defended last year. However, that leader that was tied in passes defended and interceptions last year was Ryan Cooper, 10 passes defended, 3 interceptions. He comes back, as well as Keaton Oladapo, who was your 2nd leading tackler, my apologies, and Jaden Robinson, on some other players, as well as Tyrese Ivey coming over from community college. If DJ can play up to standards, it's going to be a very good offense. Defense maybe has a bit of work to do, but I think it can be solid as well. Head coach is Jonathan Smith. Your offensive coordinator is Brian Lindgren. Your defensive coordinator is Trent Bray. So taking a look now at the Beavers 2023 schedule. Hey, if you haven't seen my videos before, it goes like this. Any game at home is going to be underlined, and any game that Oregon State's going to have to play on the road is going to be in italics or the slanted text. Any game in green is a game that I see Oregon State being able to win fairly easily. Any game in yellow is the other team's going to put up a fight, or it's a close game, but the Beavers are still win, and red is a loss. So let's dive on into the Beavers' schedule. I think they get a couple easy wins to start off here. San Jose State might not be a big pushover, but with the talent level that's on this Oregon State team, I think they're going to be able to get it done. And then I don't see UC Davis being much of a challenge either, although they did beat an FBS opponent last year, if I'm not mistaken, in Tulsa. If not, that was a couple of years ago. But regardless, to the talent level that's on this Oregon State team, UC Davis is not much competition. San Diego State is the interesting one here, and the Aztecs definitely have an ability to keep this game close. But I'm going to go ahead and say that the Oregon State Beavers go ahead and win this one by more than 14 points. We know the Aztecs are going to have a pretty solid defense, offense. They got some good players there as well. But when you take a look at the Aztecs this year, I just do not see them matching up to the talent level of the Oregon State Beavers. So 3-0 through non-conference play is the way I see the Beavers season playing out. But then you got to go on the road and play Washington State now. This is going to be a tough Washington State team to play. They got some very nice pieces, even though they are losing Max Borghi. I do believe that quarterback Cameron Ward comes back, and they got a lot of very, very nice pieces defensively as well. However, I think Oregon State's going to be a little bit too much. I think DJ is going to be able to get going. I think Damian Martinez is going to have himself a pretty good day against that defense. And while Washington State puts up a good fight, I see the Oregon State Beavers being able to go on the road, being able to get that win over the Washington State Cougars, but then trouble starts to arrive. When you play in a conference like the Pac-12, especially this year, you're going to run into some really, really tough opponents, and Utah is one of those really, really tough opponents this year, and I think Oregon State ends up dropping this game at home. I think the physicality, strength of the Utah Utes are going to be a little too much. And with the experience of Cam Rising, Utah has been able to win games like this in the past against big-time opponents under the Kyle Whittingham system. And even though they did lose some pieces on defense, I still think it's going to be a very physical defense. I think they're going to play hard. I think they got a lot of very nice pieces offensively. Again, Cam Rising is coming off knee surgery, but should be healthy by this point. You would imagine, although hard to tell, with an ACL, I believe, is what he had, which, again, we all know in the sports world, that's a big injury. Regardless, Utah, too physical, too tough. I got them beating the Beavers, handing them their first loss of 2023. But I think the Beavers bounce back nicely on the road against Cal. Cal is going to be one of those teams this year that definitely has the potential to pull off an upset like this. Make no mistake, Cal can sneak up on someone and be able to pull off a monster win, especially if it's late in the season. They could ruin a team's playoff chances, hopes of the Pac-12 title, anything like that. Cal's got a lot of very nice pieces. I think they're going to be a very talented team, but the reality with Cal, in my opinion, is that they are going to be in a conference that has a lot of top-tier teams, and it's going to be very hard to compete. So going on the road here with Oregon State, I do see a very close competitive game, but the Beavers pull it out in the end. Then you get to play UCLA, and UCLA is a very interesting team here. Last year, of course, in the Pac-12 before going over to play in the Big Ten, they're going to have to replace Dorian Thompson-Robinson and a couple other of weapons around the quarterback position. However, in my opinion, I think that defense is going to be pretty solid this year. I think the offense, they got a lot of very nice pieces at quarterback. It's going to reload, and this is going to be a very close and competitive game. But I just see, again, some of this offense has a sort of ability here with Oregon State, I feel, to be really, really good. I think DJ, if he is up to what he's shown he can be, going to be really good. This is a really good running back room. Also, UCLA does lose Zach Charbonnet, but Oregon State, I think, is going to be able to win that game against UCLA. I think the defense steps up, make a couple big plays. They're going to be able to win. And then they get their bye week. You're feeling pretty good if you're a Beavers fan at this point. Very tough game against Arizona coming up. Jed Fish has done a phenomenal job. Jaden Delores got some very good weapons at wide receiver to work with. However, I think Oregon State's going to be able to score on this Arizona team. Again, much like Cal, Arizona's a team that can sneak up on you, and you definitely don't want to be sleeping on a team like Arizona. However, I still think Oregon State's able to put the nail in the coffin and get that one done. Same thing here with Colorado. Now, Colorado, it is a bit of a different story because Deion Sanders has come in and flipped Boulder completely upside down. Entirely new roster, and I'm of the mind that Deion Sanders and company are going to start winning very, very quickly. I just do not know if it's this year, especially with the level of competition the Pac-12 has to offer this season. Colorado can sneak up on you as well. That is a major, major, major sleeper team. So do not sleep on Deion Sanders and the Buffaloes, but Oregon State I do have going on the road, being able to pull off a win there. Again, I think a year under the Deion Sanders system, and Colorado will start to be moving. Stanford, quite honestly, I think is going to be one of the worst teams in the Power 5 this season. I think Troy Taylor has got a long rebuilding process ahead of him, and Oregon State has got much too much talent, I think, to be able to really even have Stanford keep this game close. So Oregon State, I think, is going to be able to win. So, hey, look at that. You are 9-1 entering week 12. You're feeling really good. Hey, maybe there are rumblings of playoff conversation, but then you have to run into two of the toughest teams in the Pac-12. Washington, I think, is going to be very, very good. With Michael Penix Jr., they got one of the best passing attacks in the entire nation. That defense, if that front seven can stay healthy and that secondary can improve, Washington could be a team that crashes the college football playoff. So with all of that, I think all of that being said is going to be too much for the Oregon State Beavers to handle. They're going to drop that one. And then on the road in Eugene, Oregon, I think it's going to be very good as well. You return Bo Nix. He's going to be a very good quarterback. Lots of nice pieces around him offensively, and through the transfer portal on defense, they loaded up with some great talent. Oregon State, I don't see having much luck in Eugene, leaving me to a record of 9-3. Now, 10-2 I do have as my ceiling. There's just a lot of tough opponents here, a lot of tricky road games you got to go play. 11-1 I could definitely see. However, I'm going to say 10-2 as that ceiling. I think this is definitely going to be a team that can compete for the Pac-12 title. There are just a lot of talented teams in the Pac-12 this year. That's going to do it for my preview prediction. Hey, let me know what you think about the Beavers in the comment section below, and remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.